But certainly we're going to do none of this today. Today, I would like to invest a portion of our time, or actually entire time during this live conversation, as an investment into your success in doing well in this course. So what I'll do is I'll give you the general outline, not just of the course, but most importantly of what it takes to do well in this class, if this is something you're interested in pursuing, right? And so I suggest you take notes, although, you know, the problem with me recording these conversations is that students don't take notes, but then they don't rewatch either. So they have neither, right? So I suggest you take notes on important points anytime you are watching the lecture, whether it's live lecture or pre-recorded lecture. Part of the reason for that, as you may know by now, when you write things down, it's kind of you kicking in visual memory as well. And statistically, based on scientific research, people are capturing 30% more information on average. So it's a good idea to write things down. All right. So today will be that class. It will be a housekeeping class. I will discuss with you how I run the class. I will share with you my perspectives, what it takes to do well in the class. I'll give you kind of background information, what the class is all about and how to think about it. And if you incorporate the elements we'll discuss today, they'll be absolutely instrumental to doing well in this course, okay? And to start, I'd like to start with, because I know a lot of you have a lot of questions of different types. So with your permission, instead of jumping back and forth immediately from question to question, because I see already people started typing up their questions, I will methodically go through the information, and then I'll take pauses in appropriate times and then take remaining questions, because I know, you know, 99.99% of the questions that you guys are going to raise, I've done it for many, many years, for a few decades already. So I think, you know, if we kind of follow the usual procedure, I think it will serve well as it always did in the past. Okay. So as I said before, first, just to make sure you're properly registered, that this is a, you know, your name, that you need to deal with the registrar office. So you don't want to discover that something went wrong. And for that, check with the registrar office. This course is 100% remote course. Okay. So everything will be done remotely, and the course will be based on lectures that are recorded, pre-recorded, as well as live recitation sessions, where I will talk about things and answer your questions, as well as, of course, we're going to have office hours that are also online. We'll be on Zoom, and you see office hours posted in your outline. Maybe, Sabrina, maybe it's a good time. I mean, you all have access to Blackboard, right, and the outline. But just in case, Sabrina, maybe you could post the outline now or share the screen for it. Sabrina, by the way, as you saw from Blackboard post, is my wonderful, amazing assistant. She's been with me for quite some time already. Students always love her. She gets enormous amount of compliments during and at the end of each term. So you guys are very lucky, all of you, by the way, because you're going to be communicating with her a lot. She's also, when it comes to office hours, because there's so many of you, there's no way to handle, you know, everybody for me in the same time. So the way we've been doing it, and it's been working very, very successfully. You come to the office hours, which is where mainly we discuss homework problems. We'll come back to homework later, you know, and Sabrina was kind of the first line of assistance. And then whatever cannot be resolved, or if there's something open, then she pulls me in one way or another. So as you see, office hours are conveniently set. First of all, on, you know, at the end of the class on Friday, as well as another day of the week, to make it all kind of possible for each of you. Now, I want to say something extremely important. this entire course will be run through Cengage platform, right? So all of the homework problems, your book, material, everything will be on the platform. So as I mentioned already on the posts that you read, hopefully before today, you absolutely must purchase it. There's no conversation. You cannot use old books, prior version, I don't know, because the numbers change, the laws change constantly. So you'll just be in a bad situation. I hope all of you already made an acquisition by now, as I requested before this class in the Blackboard post. I see some people still asking how much it is. And as was posted on Blackboard, I'm not a technical expert. So any Blackboard related questions, including if somebody has technical difficulties, they will need to be addressed to representatives from Cengage, okay, in terms of Cengage, right, related issues. And what I did for today to make your lives easier, I know some of you already communicated with Cengage representatives and got their information and all that other good stuff and answered your questions and problems. But those of you who didn't do it and who still had some issues, I created this wonderful opportunity for you. I will have 1 or 2 representatives today during this class who will come in and answer your questions, okay? So that you're done. And I did not assign any homework problems for today, although that would probably kind of force, those few of you who didn't purchase platform yet to make sure you purchase it. But I wanted to keep it flexible, but there's going to be homework assigned for next class. And even though it's a week, but I want to make sure that that you all will have that information. And there's going to be, no excuses at that point, right? So prepare your questions. And when it comes to Cengage platform related questions, all of them we will address at the same time once the representative's here. So please don't raise questions about that. Save all those related questions, okay? And in general, also what I'll ask every one of you, there's a lot of you here, which is wonderful. If you have a question, please raise your hand, just like we would do in the regular classroom, because if everybody's going to start unmuting themselves and asking questions, we're going to have a mess, not a class. So with that said, I will go through, again, the initial kind of portion of the material. And because a lot of questions I know that you will raise, and I'll delightfully do a preemptive strike by just going through first outline information, and then I'll take some questions. So as we discussed, this is going to be 100% online class. I will be recording live lectures. I will be posting them on Blackboard, meaning YouTube links, so you could rewatch, or if you miss it. I'm pretty flexible in many ways, as you'll discover. There are no principle involved in, as long as there is no kind of abuse of a situation, right? So, you don't have to come to live lectures. You could just watch recordings if you prefer. Just there is always a risk, right? We deal with technology, so certain things may not get recorded for whatever reason, or computer or Zoom issues or whatever. So you're taking that risk, of course, right? But nonetheless, you have outlined, description of the course. This course will deal with federal income tax for individuals. So we'll zoom in on the true meaning of its word as the course will start. There are many taxes out there, right? There's income tax, there's sales tax, there's, I don't know, local tax, estate tax, et cetera. So, and there's also different levels of tax. There's federal, there's state, there's city, there's county. So this is a very narrow conversation. It's a federal tax. What type of tax? A federal income tax. Income taxing whom? Corporations, trusts, partnerships, individuals, right? So federal income tax for individuals. So that's the scope of our inquiry. I may make reference to other types of taxes during the course, but that's kind of the focus of this conversation, just so you understand. And one thing I want you to understand and appreciate right from the beginning that when it comes to the course, we're going to study law today. I don't know how many of you actually realize it, but this course is legal in nature because tax is law, as we'll study. So it's very different from accounting, and the biggest difference, I just want to bring it up immediately, is in the fact that in science, quite often, most of the time you have black and white answer, yes or no, right? And in accounting, most of you accounting major, debits must equal credits and all that stuff, and it's all clear cut. But in law, most of the time, the answer is depends. It depends on facts and circumstances. It depends on, what we're talking about. You change a little fact, the answer will change. So I'm saying this because for some of you at the beginning, it will be kind of a bit of a shock, so to speak, that, it's just very fluid. For others will be finally in full joy and happiness because they're going to feel finally there's some room for creativity and creative thinking, creative mind, right? You can't be creative really, in traditional accounting. I'm sorry to say that. And if you are being creative, you're going to be in prison probably. So that's a big difference. And we'll talk about this later today, what this is about. But right up front, I just wanted to say this. And because it's law, it's got kind of its own language, its own slang, so to speak, right? So just like in every field, yesterday I was talking to somebody who is in energy business, and he keeps throwing at me all these terms, off-take, grid, off-grid, and I'm not in the bit. So I had to stop him after 20 minutes and hey, you either speak plain English with me or we're wasting time. I have no clue all these terms you're using, and I don't know if you're trying to impress me here or you yourself don't know what you're talking about. You're just using these terms. A lot of people do that. So every area has its own kind of terminology, and so we're going to be learning vocabulary. And what you'll find in this course is that we're going to start in a very broad way, like from really bird's eye view, and I'm going to start kind of big picture outline, and we'll go through in very general terms, tax formula and stuff, and things are going to be blurry for you, okay? And you're going to be like, I don't know if I understand this fully, and some words I'll use like taxable income or deductions, and some of you will be like, well, what is he talking about? Like we never really studied that in detail. And I want you to know, don't worry about that. It's all kind of methodical and traditional. We can't, if you fly into Spain, right, you're not going to be immediately understanding everything that people speak in Spanish, right? Or if you're in Miami, for that matter, it's still, you have to speak Spanish, as I'm told, in every restaurant. So in reality, you got to do bit by bit, step by step, right? And that's okay. So don't worry, don't freak out. You're going to be fine. But with each and every class, with each and every lecture, things going to get clearer and clearer. It's almost like the optometrist putting different glasses and lenses. And with each class, things are going to get clearer and clearer to the point where I could guarantee you by the time, we're going to get to the midterm, everybody's going to be as clear as it possibly can get. So no worries about that part. And that was my big point that I wanted to stress. Okay. And I'll come back to conversation about the course in a moment, but I just wanted to finish up going through the outline. So we talked about platform. Again, we'll have a detailed conversation about the platform once I have representatives. Okay. And again, I hope you're preparing your questions, whatever they are, for them. You have the information, what to buy, what not to buy. By the way, I just wanted to say I'm extremely happy to see those whom I can see. Thank you for turning on your video cameras. You don't need to do that for those of you who don't want to. Obviously, it's more exciting and more like real class from me for those who do that. And we could have kind of two-way communication even without you speaking, right? Because I don't know if you know or not, and I've took at some point FBI negotiation and a few other classes, and 80% of communication is all visual, right? I mean, and that's why people say things, think differently, and there are ways to tell. So it's always meaningful to me. It's always two-way stream. I'm sure you're enjoying to see my face for whatever reasons. And but again, I'm perfectly cool with that. I respect. I know some of you in different situations. Some of you are under the bed right now, hiding from somebody who doesn't want you to be in school or whatever. I don't know, or another compromising situation. So that's fine. But I think it's going to be more fun and interesting for all of us if we do it that way. Plus, it gives me, more of a, way to the extent possible in this setting, get to know you guys and remember you guys. Okay, so for those of you for whom book will not be enough, I put some additional resources in the outline. And speaking of book and not being enough, also when it comes to homework, so I just want to talk about that a little bit now too. So first of all, I require that you always stay at least a chapter ahead in your readings, okay? Very important. It's a new area. We discussed this. It's a new world. It's an area of law, and not just law, tax law. For those of you who don't know, I don't want to scare you because there's nothing scary about it, but tax is one of the more complicated areas of law, as judged by the fact, or maybe it's not more complicated, more evolved, I don't know. But tax attorneys, I don't know if you know that, make more than any other attorneys per hour. And people who are in tax profession in general, the last time I looked at statistics and spoke with recruiters also, even from the undergraduate level in tax make more than even in accounting. And there's a reason for that. Not just in terms of complexity, but as we discussed, it requires much more creative mind, right? And we'll talk about creativity. And also tax is kind of an interesting area where, accounting is back office basically for 99% of the companies, unless it's accounting firm. So it's an expense of the company, versus tax is kind of almost middle office, because a lot of times you could make a lot of money, just pure tax strategies, right? And tax, what we call tax arbitrage, which we'll talk a little bit in this course also. So it's a different, as I said, different world. And because of that, again, I want you to be very open-minded to the flexibility of it. But since I talked about already, planning versus, so before I go back to planning, so just to finish with the book. So homework, I assign in advance, and I do it purposely, even before we discuss the topics, because I want you to be forced to read in advance. Right? I mean, that's really what it is. Because if you come to a class already having read the material, right, you're going to be in much better position to understand the material, obviously, and also to have questions that you may have, right? So, the book is not the best book, but it's not perfect book, but it's the best that is out there in the field, and I've used it for many years, and the support that they give us is tremendous. So I do want to encourage you, push you, whichever terminology you want to use, manipulate you, if that's your favorite term, to actually read in advance, because you're going to be better off. If you come to a lecture and you have no clue as to what's going on, it's going to be much more difficult for you to comprehend the material. Okay. So whatever way you prefer to term it, I do want you to read. So to force you, even more than manipulate, to force you to read in advance, I assign homework in advance. Okay, just to be clear. And it's a fair deal also, because all of you are in the same situation, right? Nobody was exposed to material, so you just do the best you can. Ultimately, it's not what you get, it's not what you do, it's how you do relative to the class. Because, speaking of grading and everything else, that's how it's done. So homework will be assigned in advance. It will be assigned on the platform. So you will not be able to do homework if you don't have access to the platform. Okay. No, as I said earlier, we did not assign any homework yet. Homework will be assigned after we're done with the class. Okay. So you got to have access to the homework, to the platform to do the homework, and you get immediate feedback, because whenever homework is due shortly thereafter, a few minutes after or whatever, we release, first of all, the results, which means we release how you did, and also some explanations on the problems where you had difficulty. Okay, so that's the homework situation, and you will submit it again right on the platform. I assign homework just once a week because class is running once a week, right? So, but because it's once a week, while still full credit class, it's kind of double class each time, right? So that's why, the lecture is supposed to be much longer, double lecture, right? Essentially, like if your class was Tuesday, Thursday, you take those cumulatively, that would be one class, right? That's why this class is supposed to be running from 11:10 to 2 whatever, right? But that's not going to happen in this class. We're going to keep it much more flexible. I care more about the substance than the form, like how much time we spend. But nonetheless, I want you to be aware of that. So, and I don't assign, even though I'm supposed to assign you double homework for each week, right? And the homework will always be due on each Friday of the class at 11 o'clock, on or before 11 o'clock, right? So, and you'll have the whole week to do the homework. But the problem with that is a lot of times I understand the student's mind. I've been a student for too long myself. And, you kind of wait till the last moment. And then all of a sudden Friday comes and, oh my goodness, it's too late, or some glitch with my computer and everything else. So while I give you until next Friday, Friday, a week, the whole week, I want to manipulate you to submit the homework on Thursday, day before. I don't require you, but I advise you. So this way we don't have a conversation that your dog ate your platform or computer, and you couldn't submit it, and your father disconnected internet because, he saw you went to the wrong sites or whatever it is. Okay. So please make sure that's the case. And also with lectures. So I want to talk about lectures because this is also very important. This is at heart, I'm a performer, believe it or not. I used to be a professional musician many, many years ago. And for me, part of the reason I came back to Baruch to teach is because I enjoy that very much, number one. And number two, to me, it's like, whatever, every conversation is, there's got to be some form of education, some form of entertainment. And I love when I see your smiles, even though I know I'm still, maybe typical professor and most of the jokes are stupid or make no sense, but that comes with the territory, right? When you're listening to a professor. But nonetheless, for me, when I see audience, right, and I think it's true for anybody, and you get a lot of feedback, it's a different energy, and you teach differently, right? So what I've done, to be honest with you, when I was even lecturing on campus, because of demand for this type of class, and students at that time were asking already, this was like way before COVID, like 8 years before COVID, students wanted to be in my class, and then there's limit how many people could sit in the place, etc., etc. And also some people, were asking already at that time for online offerings, which I'm all for. So school recorded my lectures, actually, live lectures on campus. And then when we kind of started online offerings, and this course moved online, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and I was talking to blank screens for the most time, it felt a little bit dull for me. And then some students asked, well, I missed this class, and at that time I was not recording my Zoom lectures. Do you have any recording? And I pulled recordings that I had from the past, from when I did on campus, because those were, the sections that don't change. And the uniform feedback that I received from everybody, and that kind of blew away, my perception of things. Everybody said that, Professor Melnick, we appreciate what you're doing live, but when you were in classroom with the 500 students, those lectures kind of I don't know, we like them even more. Okay. I mean, I'm the type of person, I care about end result. I don't care about, whatever the process, there is no ego involved, I hope. So what I started doing ever since for all these years is Well, text law changes, and whatever the changes are, we discuss them separately. But fundamental areas of each lecture, which is the vast majority of them, I use recordings that I did on campus when I taught them. Okay, and these would be the lectures that you guys watch, and then you watch a few lectures, and then we do live recitation session where I answer all your questions. Besides, of course, office hours and everything else, and that's how we've been doing it for many years. And students seem to appreciate it, right? I mean, out of 300, 400, 500 students. I think last semester we had close to 500. There's always, of course, a percentage of students who don't do well, that just by definition, and wish for different format. But that's just how it is. The vast majority seem to be extremely happy based on the feedback. So that's how we're gonna do it. I'm just giving you a heads up. So I will be posting lectures, pre-recorded lectures, the ones I did on campus. And then we're going to have live recitation sessions. We'll discuss differences, changes, and updates. And speaking of updates, I just want to tell you guys, incredibly lucky. Incredibly lucky. You have no idea. What I used to do is, we have a set of law. And then when Trump came into presidency, he made a lot of changes that simplified a lot of areas of law, right? And made a lot of other changes, and then, but this law is set to expire in 2025. So what I used to do, I used to teach both laws, because you had to know both. You had to know the one that applies now and the one that is going to come in soon. And if you also need to amend tax returns, meaning change some tax returns from prior years, you have to know prior law. So it was a little bit, to be honest with you, after a while I reflected, and it was a little bit too much, I felt, for you guys as students. So I made a decision not too long ago to simply only teach current law. I require you to read entire chapter, and I'm going to come back also to conversation about the chapters, but I will only test you on the current law. Okay, I just want to make it clear. And sometimes during lectures, I'll talk about, again, prior law, future law, just as a point of reference, but you're only responsible for the law that applies today. Okay, and that's very, very important. And going back to the book, I also want to tell you, the book is huge. In reality, it could be broken into, 4 different courses. And each chapter has a lot of information. So what I want you to understand and to know that I will not cover entire material in every chapter. Please understand this, okay? Since this course is a basic introductory course for those who are not tax experts, not in master's in tax program or tax programs, what I will do, my goal here is to teach you fundamental about federal income tax, how it works, what are general principles, and some examples of some specifics. So I want you to understand this, but I do want you to read the entire chapter, because I want you to be aware of everything else, number one. And number two, since I will teach you only certain things, I will only test you on those things. So, to make sure there is also no ambiguity, we will post before each and every exam the topics I will not be testing. Okay, so that's something that I wanted to stress, that is very important. But I do want you to read entire chapter each and every time. Okay, so I'm close to finishing up with the outline, and I'll take some questions. Just to finish, also the course in terms of composition of grades, etc. It's basically 2 exams, midterm and final, each one 45% towards the grade, plus 10%. 10% is broken out into, we're going to have a group project and homework. Okay, so that's the composition of the grade. To talk about exams a little bit. Number one, I have not made exams cumulative for quite a few years. I don't think I will make them this time either, but I will confirm and let you know a few weeks before the exam. Point number one. Point number two, exam will be multiple choice, combination of multiple choice, true, false, and fill in the blank, okay? It will be open notes, open book, Hopefully no open uncle CPA. But you could use the notes, everything else. Now, on the exam, please, whenever dealing with somebody, whenever evaluating situation, whenever negotiating, whenever arguing about something, whenever trying to make a point, it's always helpful to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? Because you'll save yourself a lot of frustration. You'll get much further this way. So why am I saying this? Since you guys are home and I have no clue and there is no proctor, what's happening, how it's happening. And we all know that certain segment of students always cheat, right? So I have to do what I can, reasonably speaking, to minimize the chances of that happening. How can I do that? How can I do that? Am I to send somebody to your home? We can't even require you guys to have your cameras on. I don't know what that would do anyway. So there are only a few tools, guys, that we have as professors in our disposal. And one is, one kind of direction is to make sure you have less time to cheat, right? So we give you less time. We don't let you go back to the questions once you're done with the exam to change something. I forget what else we do. But in the big scheme of things, I want you to know it doesn't matter. Why? Because at the end of the day, the class, grading is going to be done relative to how you did relative to the class, right? So even if the highest grade, let's say, is 60, it's still going to be an A. Okay. And yes, I'm required to follow accounting department's policy on grade distribution, maximum A's, B's, C's. So at the end of the day, everybody's in the same boat, dealing with the same good or bad exam for whatever your perspective on it is. And, there is natural distribution between, you guys, right? And it's gonna be held that way, whichever way you prefer relative to the class. So I want to make sure you understand that. So there is, we don't get into the conversations, why not, I don't know, make it longer, or why not, let us, after we did the exam, then, give us time or chance to go redo things, all that other good stuff. Okay. The other thing I just want to say from cheating perspective, I know there are groups you guys are going to connect, and I encourage you very much to connect. I mean, one of the most beautiful things and most valuable things that you get out from this school is actually not education, believe it or not, because you could study things on your own, especially these days. I mean, there's so much material available. I mean, I really think it's the value of college education, even though we do, I think, superb job, but it's not what it used to be, because the world is much more connected through social media. You could get much more information. So, but what's really super valuable is, the people you get to meet here. So I do want you to be in groups and, if possible, whatever, do video calls and meet in person and have a life. But at the same time, of course, on exams, if anybody's going to be part of any group, and believe it or not, for various reasons, there are a number of situations where students were dropped from the class and with not just an F, but permanent mark in their transcript for cheating, which is what employers see, if they were part of the group that discussed exam during the exam. Okay, and we'll talk more about it closer to the exam, but I just wanted to stress these few points. And if you look at the class outline, well, needless to say, anybody who needs special accommodation, students with disability letters, please email Sabrina, my assistant. Her contact information is on Blackboard, and for appropriate accommodations. But if you take a look at the end of the outline, for course outline, right, schedule of classes, I just want you to know, just like it says already there on the footnote, this is tentative. These are class dates and topics that are tentative. My goal is not to jump from place to place. If I see there are some difficulties people having or whatever. Same with exams. These are approximate dates for the exams, midterm. I will give you at least a week notice. Usually I try to give 2 weeks notice before we do the exam. So this is tentative date. Please know that because of the situation and you guys taking exam remotely, and there is kind of an opportunity for those who want to cheat, and I don't imply that all of you cheat. I know there are honest students out there, But to be honest with you, for those honest students, I feel I owe them even more to do what I can to prevent others from cheating, because then those who are honest actually end up doing worse, right? I mean, it's a sad reality, and it's extremely sad. So I'm also very conscious of that. So that's why I do what I reasonably can and practically can to decrease the chance of cheating. But part of that effort also is working on the exam. It used to take me to create exam like this. Now it takes us, cumulatively about a month and a half, believe it or not, because we all know everybody's ability to Google things and look for things and all that stuff, right? I mean, well, we all think we're smarter than everybody else, but we have to recognize that that there is reality out there. So structuring exam, wording the exam becomes a whole different game than it used to be. So because of it, there is no way in the world for me to give makeup exams. I just want to make it very clear. You have to take the exam. There's no makeup, and I cannot give the same exam to you earlier than everybody else, thus jeopardizing the exam. And I cannot give you the same exam after I gave it to the whole class, because information is going to be out there already, right? Because I'm not there to see who's taking screenshots, who's not taking screenshots, and all that stuff. So because of that, there is no makeup, period. And I'm putting you on notice. You miss an exam, then you miss the exam. Okay, I cannot take a month and a half comes midterm time to create individual exam for each student. It's just impossible. All right, and that's the exam policy. So which you have in front of me. Thank you, Sabrina. Along with academic honesty. Last point when it comes to, and by the way, there's a requirement for you to email me your whatever that you read academic honesty statement and all that stuff. I don't know what it does, but again, that's one of those departmental or school requirements that we have in our outline. The other thing I just wanted to say, again, with lectures, since everything will be recorded, again, God's willing, no issues, it kind of creates, and we're going to post, like today, after we finish this general conversation, I'll post the first lecture. It's going to be not long lecture that you have an opportunity to watch the whole week. Please don't wait till night before, next Friday to watch it, or let alone binge it and watch like Netflix, some serial or series, whatever in one night. It's just not going to work for you. Same thing when preparing for the midterm, as I'm sure you understand. If you're going to start kind of getting things done, I'm going to have a line of people, right before midterm. There's going to be no opportunity for me to speak with each and every one of you. So please, as you go through, make sure you watch. You don't have to commute. It's fully online course. You say what, an hour, 2, 3 hours in commuting. You don't have to spend time getting ready. You don't have to spend time putting your pants on, and all the other good stuff. So, you have all that time in the world, but psychologically knowing that the recorded lecture is there quite often makes people kind of, okay, I'll watch it. So you have to be self-disciplined. And that's what makes these types of courses more difficult, in my opinion. It's so convenient, it's so great, everything is at your disposal, everything is there. Please kind of create a schedule. I'm going to watch it, this, and this. All right. So I wanted to take a pause for now, for a moment, and just take some questions, and then we'll continue. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. I know there were a few hands. Kiuri?
Oh, yes. Hi, Professor. Just to clarify, because I'm still a little bit in the air with regard to the class. So are we having every Friday a live section that we can come in, or it's just the video straight out?
No. So I'm going to be posting recorded lectures. And every once in a while, we're going to have live recitation sessions. So we're not going to have, for example, live class next week. I'm going to post a lecture. I'm going to post homework. Okay. And as we go through, I'll make announcement when the live class will be. I purposely pace it so you accumulate enough questions. And remember, anytime, any week, twice a week, You could come for live conversation during office hours, okay? Now, for office hours, it's going to be the same link throughout entire semester, okay? So and we'll post it on Blackboard, okay? And these are the same hours that you can log in and get your questions answered. And this is also where we discuss homework, okay? I save homework related discussions for office hours, just so you know. And you could come at any time. I, of course, cannot possibly help but ask the question, Neshama, where are you? Are you in Miami, Latin America? Where are you?
I'm in Florida, but I'll be back before the snowstorm. So
okay, well, enjoy it. It's quite nice in Florida now. Not as hot, but I think it's about 73, 74 today.
cloudy.
If I could guess. Okay, so so that's my answer as far as the question about live versus not. Motur?
Hi, Professor.
Hey.
I was just wondering, what the exam structure would be, like how many questions, and whether it would be multiple choice, short answer, things like that.
Yeah, I talked about structure and types of questions. It's combination of multiple choice, true, false, and fill in the blank. As far as the number of questions, I don't know yet. Historically, I've been giving somewhere between 40 and 50 questions, somewhere there. So, but of course, I'll make an announcement about that, way before the exam.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Charles?
Yes, hello. So about these pre-recorded lectures, have you already made them, or have they already been created and just waiting to be uploaded?
I will not release all lectures in the same time, if that's your question, number one. But to answer your question, as I said, I will be posting lectures that I did on campus per historical feedback from students. They liked live lectures in front of the actual audience more. So that's what I will do. And we're going to release them as regular classes. So on Fridays, we're going to have new lecture posted. And then we're going to post also when I'm going to do live recitations as well. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Yes. I'm just wondering how do they align with the new textbooks that we have compared to how the textbooks probably were back then? Like, do the chapters align and all that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So there is no difference, no changes when it comes to the lectures that I actually post, whatever the differences are. And just so you understand, the chapters don't change, the topics don't change. The only thing that changed, there's some new provision, and amounts always change, right? And those are the ones that we'll discuss. So maybe if I could elaborate further, since you're asking this question, even though first class that I'll post, we'll talk about some numbers, but for example, each person gets what's known as standard deduction, like before you pay any taxes. It's the amount depending on your filing status, which we'll also talk about, you given certain amount. So each year, those amounts change, and same is true of a few other things. So there is no point to even memorize those. In fact, when I used to give exams on campus, I would even give you guys still pages where all the numbers are. Like, I don't care for your memory. I want you to understand the concept, what it means, and how you use it. So the lectures, I'll mention, let's say, standard deduction amount for a particular year, but you will know, and I'm telling you now, we'll also discuss it during recitation. You'll know it for homework, that you're just going to look at the table in your notebook, in your textbook of the current years, whichever year. I may ask you about last year. I may ask you a question about 2 years ago. I may ask you a question about next year. It doesn't matter. You just go to that year and see what the number is. So these are the real changes that took place from those. That's really the only difference. Everything else, so the lectures are going to be right on point. It's going to go from chapter to chapter. There is no difference at all.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Shama?
Hi, Professor. You can call me Nikki. It's my
I could call you
so Nikki.
Nikki.
I'll change it. Yeah, just it's easier unless you want to spit when saying my name.
Yeah, if you could change it on your screen, that'll be great.
I'll do that. Okay.
Whatever you guys want me to call you, just put whatever you call in parentheses your actual name. So this way I'll see.
Okay, perfect. So I guess one of my questions were already asked, because you did mention the reason I thought there might be a discrepancy in terms of the pre-recorded and the current is because you did say that there is that creativity within tax. So I'm assuming it's all the same language and just the numbers are different.
Yeah. And again,
Okay, so
any differences, again, we're going to have recitation session, which we're going to drill, and make it black and white.
okay, so it does say synchronous online, but this is technically asynchronous.
I've had conversations with the school. It actually, even when I taught this in hybrid method, which is, I think, in a way what this is, for some reason the school was posting it. It was just brought to my attention, frankly speaking, a few weeks ago, that prior years it was actually posted as P as an in-person altogether. Like, I don't know, who does what where. I don't get involved. I'm sorry in the administrative element of it. And this came about, this conversation had nothing to do with the class teaching at all. It's just something that, we do internally. And I just saw that every semester for the past 3 years, my course was listed as P in person on campus. And I haven't been on campus for, teaching on campus for a very long time. So, so the answer to this question is, some lectures, whichever way you want to call it, I'm just telling you what it's going to be. So there is clarity, right? Whatever the definitions are. So some lectures are going to be pre-recorded. And of course, immediately after, there's live conversation during office hours, and some lectures going to be live, just like we're having it right now. Okay, so whatever category or designation, forgive me, I'm not expert in those, it falls, that's what it is.
One other question, are you a tax attorney?
I'll talk about myself a bit later, but the answer is yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Mariko?
Oh, hi. So
Hey.
I saw a PowerPoint on the Blackboard, and then just realized some of the chapter uploaded were not on the syllabus. So which is better to follow to study ahead?
Okay, so thank you. So as far as PowerPoint, I don't like them, to be honest with you. and just as we stated in the post, if I recall correctly, it just every semester there's always some student or couple that say, is there any PowerPoint slides for this course? So we posted them, and I gave you everything that exists for this whole course for chapters that we don't even cover, and you do what you want with that. But again, the topics are on the course outline, and more specifically, as we go through each lecture and the topics, that's what we're covering. That's what I'll hold you responsible for. I just posted PowerPoints because there's always few students who ask for them. So if you find them helpful, feel free, but PowerPoints are not the course. This is just what comes with the book.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Clea?
Hi, Professor. So my question is to summarize a little bit the timeline. So the new lectures will be posted every Friday, right?
I don't know what you call by new lectures, but I will post lectures every Friday.
Yes.
If there is a class scheduled for that week, because some Friday could be off, right? And I will also make an announcement way before Friday if we're having live recitation session, right? And by the way, this brings next point. Please make sure you check Blackboard regularly. This is the way we communicate here, right? So if there is an announcement, there's no such situation in this world that ever happened that comes Friday, you don't know what's happening. Okay. So and when it comes to live lectures, I will always post a separate new link for live conversations, live lectures like this. So you'll have that. Otherwise, we'll post lectures and we'll post homework with instruction when it's due, but it's always going to be due next class on or before the beginning of the class.
Okay, so maybe the next homework will be due in a week or 2 weeks. I mean, the first homework.
So it's always next class, due next class. So today we're going to assign homework that's due next class, just like in regular class.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, please. You briefly mentioned that there will be a group project. Is that true?
Yeah, I was not kidding. And I think it becomes even more important in this type of setting, believe it or not, because we're remote and you guys, don't really communicate. And I think it's so important for you to work together, to get to know each other. As frustrating as these things are, I get it.
They are.
But to be honest with you, the biggest reason I do this is I've seen, a lot of people come to industry, okay, whatever, accounting, Wall Street, very, very smart, very capable, know the material, but they just have no social skills or ability to work with others in teams. And I could tell you, I worked in Big Four, and after first year, these superstars who got aced all the exams in the world, these certain category of people just got laid off, not because they knew more about accounting or tax than others, just nobody could work with them. And being able to work with others, it's not simply about being a good contributor necessarily, right? There's a lot of variables there. It's also finding a way to work with difficult people, because there are difficult people all over us. There are idiots, there are whatever, ego maniacs, narcissists, right? We all know that. So as you will find, and I could tell you for whatever it's worth, right now you guys are in college and your worry is accumulating knowledge and skills. That's all good. But by far, the biggest determinant of your future success is your, EQ, emotional intelligence, ability to work with others, how people enjoy finding ways to avoid conflicts. It's easier said than done. I'll admit that. So in any case, I do assign project. It's a very small part, of the tiny grade. So I wouldn't, it's not there to really hurt you. It's there more to kind of help you. But I want you to have that experience, especially in this type of a class. And it's a fun project in itself, meaning we pretend, I make you, at the end of the course, after we studied all the tax law that we wanted to study, we're going to pretend that this is Congress, that you guys are elected officials. No insults intended, right? By that. And let's say you are elected officials, and you're going to come with a proposal to change particular law that we studied. And you're going to present that proposal, argue for it, okay, as a group. And then we're going to vote as Congress, whether we adopt it or not. Vote, by the way, doesn't really matter. It's more feedback to you guys. So it's an opportunity to be creative. It's an opportunity to work together. It's an opportunity to practice your presentational skills and whatever else that you could think of. But most importantly, it's an opportunity to work with difficult people, which I think is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and last but not least, it's also a beautiful review for the final exam.
Okay, so it's going to be towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Daniela?
Hi, Professor. I know that you spoke a little bit about how you don't think that the textbook slides aren't really helpful in terms of learning the material. Would you recommend using them just to take down notes on what's going on in the chapter, or altogether you just don't really think it's very helpful in terms of content in your class?
Thank you for your question, Daniela. I don't think I could ever say what is not helpful. The way I look at it is we all have different minds, different personalities, different preferences, different ways we capture information. So I'm just simply, my job, the way I see it, is to give you as much of a support and choices for you to choose what works better for you. right? So for me, for example, you know, like when I was a student for too long, looks like I'm frozen for some reason. But in any case, for me, for example, I would, can you still hear me? Could you type yes? Because I could see you, but okay.
Yeah, we could hear you.
Thank you. I don't know what happened here. Let me see. Anyway, for me, I would listen to professor and take detailed notes. And then my notes would be the best studying mechanism for me because I'm very detailed in my notes. So for me, personally, that works best. I know a lot of students who really live by these PowerPoints slides and they just fill in the things, you know, in between. It helps them because something is already there. Great, you know. Frankly, for some students, you know, maybe Charles is from that category. They just don't want to, you know, they just want to get my lectures and then transcribe themselves. Some people have fantastic memory, which I never had myself, and they could just listen to lectures. They don't do anything else. I have 3 kids. You know, we raised them the same way. 2 of them in college, and they each completely different personalities, abilities, preferences, everything, and they even look very different. Which makes me sometimes wonder. My wife is in my room, so I have to behave myself right now. She's giving me a look to be appropriate. Anyway, so the point is that, like, one of my kids, I mean, she's going to study and study and study and take notes, and she's going to spend hundreds of hours to do well. My son, he never does any homework. Somehow he ends up with A's. I have no clue how he does it. So there are all these different personalities and different things. So find a way that works for you, bottom line. And you know, if I could facilitate something, and you will see, I will go and I will bend backwards on my end in terms of helping you prepare for the midterm. So besides giving you a recording of lectures, besides having live recitation sessions to answer all your questions, besides twice a week a live, you know, office hours and answering questions, besides posting what will not be on the exam, besides posting what chapters will be on the exam, besides doing exam review, midterm, exam review final, and related Q&As, you know, and testing only what I teach. I mean, I don't know what else I can do. So, but at the end of the day, you know, the ball gets kind of turned to your court, if that makes sense at that point.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then my second question is, when would we know if the class is live? Like, is there a certain day in the week you would probably give
I
notice?
usually post on Thursday. So class before class. Well, I could tell you right now, the next 2 classes, I will post lectures, most likely. Okay, 99.9%. Let's put it this way. So, but then we're going to start kicking in, you know, live recitation sessions. Because first 2 classes, you need to absorb the material before we could have a conversation, really, right? And you'll record your questions, and as you go through the lectures, you take your notes, and then we'll have a discussion. The other thing, also, I was just thinking about something. Yeah. Anyway, so it's always Thursday before you check your Blackboard, you know, at the end of the night, and you'll have posts, or maybe there's some changes that will happen. One thing I wanted to, so anyway, that's the answer to your question, Danielle. Okay, but I wanted to take this moment. You're welcome. Just to also, I talked about creativity. Some of you picked up on it. I talked about planning, but in the same time, we talked about, you know, if you do it the wrong way. So I just wanted to explain to you what I really mean by that. You know, I'm sure you've heard of term tax planning. And there's also term tax evasion. What's the difference? The difference is, in one case, you make a lot of money and sleep well at night. In the other case, you end up in prison, right? And somebody says it's a question of opinion, which is a good point, because ultimately it's opinion of a jury and a judge, you know, where you fell. But sometimes it's clear cut, right? So the beauty of tax, just like law, there's a lot of creativity. I'll teach you how to structure your transactions. I'm going to teach you through course in a way that, you know, makes sense to me. We are going to follow chapter, but we're going to study system. But then, because tax is really encompasses every area of your life. You're born, you there are tax consequences. We'll talk about even before birth, before marriage, like proposal. Do you know there's tax consequences to proposal? Do you know there's a way to propose properly, not properly, so you don't lose if you give a ring? Ladies, if you want to keep a ring, there's a certain way to do this. Gentlemen, if you want to make sure you get the ring back, there is a certain way to do this, and then you get married. There's tax consequences to marriage. We'll talk about marriage penalties, and how to prepare for divorce. I'm sorry to say it, since most people get divorced. You cannot possibly plan to get married without planning to get divorced and be ready to get divorced. And then, of course, kids, very important conversation. With every child, you get enormous tax benefits. So just a quick tax planning, like it's your life. Question for you: when is the best time to have child born? At the beginning of the year or the end of the year? No laughing matter. Serious
I
question.
don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. Are you kidding me? It makes all the difference in the world.
At the end of the year, perhaps.
Oh, exactly. Why?
At the end of the year, because you're getting the benefit from the previous year and for the next year.
Yeah, because if the child born in December, you didn't have the child for the whole year. You had no expenses, no headache. You had a beautiful life, right? And then the child is born, and once they're born in a year, they're considered to be born for the entire year, and you get all this extra deduction, for the children. So from tax planning purposes, when should the child be born? In December. It took me a while to figure it out and get good at it. My first child, I was horrible when I started. My first child, I'm honest, my daughter was born in January, like horrible tax planning. Like I should not be allowed to teach, even though I was already teaching at that time. Just horrible. My second son was born in May. I was getting a little bit better with planning. And finally, my third child was born in December. And I said, yes, now I qualified to be tenured in tax. Okay. So we'll talk about all these things. I mean, I'm not going to tell you, all the details, how to get it done, but at least from tax perspective, you'll be aware of that. Okay. We'll talk about business, how to start a business, how to do business investigations so you get most benefits from it. We'll talk about vacation home. We'll talk about real estate. We'll talk about the fact that even if you make $1 cleaning bathrooms, you got to pay taxes, but you could make millions of dollars in real estate and pay zero taxes ever. So what attracted me ultimately to taxes, actually, to be honest with you, is just that I hated taxes at the beginning. And I'll tell you a little secret. We're going to keep it between us. When I took tax in college, I did horrible. It was my worst grade I've ever had. And it's not A or B, it was C. Because all that was taught to me is just how to fill out the forms. And I hated that. It was boring. I can't sit on my butt for too long. And, and when I got out from, and by the way, I guess since I already talked about it a little bit, I went to Baruch undergrad. Okay. So I just hated that. And so I went to public accounting, I went to audit, and I didn't want to have anything to do with taxes. And then as I was working in the industry, I was learning, oh my goodness, that tax is not filling out the forms. In fact, it's the last thing that anybody worries about. And these days it's done by computers anyway. It's the creativity, it's planning, it's the strategy, and it's so interesting and exciting. And ultimately I started switching to tax. So that's what tax is. But there is certain line, there's a gray line where once you push it, it becomes illegal, right? So we'll talk about this throughout the course. You got to be careful. You got to be conservative. And if you commit some tax fraud, you're not going to be in position to sit and say, oh, I didn't know. First of all, ignorance is not a defense. And second of all, IRS people are going to look at you and say, are you kidding me? You were a Professor Melnick's class. What do you mean you didn't know? And I have a lot of IRS senior people who work for me. I don't know if you know, in our programs, I hired a lot of IRS people. So by the way, when you ride in elevators, you better be mindful of what you talk about. All that crypto transactions that you're not reporting. Okay. So anyway, I'll take more questions and then I'll say a few more things. By the way, I just wanted to quickly say, because there's always questions about our tax programs. So I just want to say a few words. A very significant part of you, just like it happens always historically, after this course, after you finish undergrad, will actually go for graduate degree in tax, our master's in tax. And there are a lot of questions on that. So I just want to use it once, this opportunity to answer these questions. And number one is, it's 1 year program, MST. It's all tax courses, only tax, partnership, corporate, international, all that other good stuff. It does qualify for your CPA exam. You just got to check, for all the details with appropriate people. And you could be done with 1 year. And I happen to be also director of all tax offerings in Baruch College, and graduate and undergraduate, our MBA, our in tax, MS. And I created last year, actually a program that CUNY is finalizing its approval on for Masters in Tax, also combination with financial planning. So it's actually, you get MST degree, Masters in Tax with financial planning concentration. So you could become financial planner, which is huge these days. And this is the trend that I always saw globally and certainly in this country. And I served in the executive committee for financial planning for AICPA for a number of years. And we kind of created this, model curriculum, which I implemented in Baruch, one of the first schools in the United States. So it's a beautiful opportunity because clients want both. They want financial planning, they also want tax, and it just creates a beautiful situation. Also, a lot of people ask me, what's the difference really between tax and accounting? And we talked about, a few things already and creativity and stuff, but the difference is also, tax is the ultimate free franchise, right? So for those of you who are also entrepreneurial, who want to have your own business, you cannot do it on accounting. You cannot go out and start just pure accounting thing. Everybody needs taxes. Then you upsell everything else, bookkeeping, audit, and whatever else, right? So keep that in mind. I'll take more questions, but maybe it would be helpful for you, since somebody asked me, I think Daniela was, or somebody asked me, if I was tax attorney, would you like for me to just take a minute or two and tell you a little bit about my background? Okay, I see yeses. So very quickly, first of all, I'm an immigrant. I came from Eastern Europe, like many of you immigrants from different places. So I was sitting in Baruch College with a dictionary, like many of you still do, and learning English. Back in Eastern Europe, I was a professional guitar player. I was supposed to be whatever that meant, I don't know. But then I came to US and I saw a guy playing in Times Square who was amazing, and people were throwing quarters at him. I said, there's something wrong with this picture. I don't think I could afford this luxury. So that's when I switched to accounting. I said, what's the highest? What I don't care what I studied. Just tell me where I definitely get a job. Somebody said accounting. I said fine. So anyway, so I went to Baruch. I did well. I started at that time was the world's largest CPA firm, accounting firm. It's one of big four, we could call it, right? Became a CPA. I was in their capital markets division, broker dealers, banks. I did audit, then I did regulatory compliance consulting, then I did tax. Then they sent me for executive degree. I don't know if you know, they pick these superstars, whatever they call it, once a year. Every Wall Street firm sends to this executive degree program. They wanted to send me to Columbia, but I said, why do I? I'm a practical immigrant. So what am I going to do with the graduate degree? Send me to law school, especially since we were pretending to know securities law. We were trying to develop that consulting practice. So the firm sponsored me to executive degree in law, and then I got my postdoctorate degree, which is not just an attorney, but it's master's degree after law school in law school. It's called postdoctorate. It's LLM in tax. So that I served as advisor to the United States Treasury Department, helped them write some funky laws, represented the firm in national media, did all your NBC, CNBC's, Bloomberg's, whatever. While in law school, spent some time in New York Stock Exchange and bankruptcy court, figuring that out. What else would be interesting for you to know about me? Wrote a book, if you're curious, on taxes. Seemed to be doing well, became #1 bestseller in 2 categories on Amazon. I don't know what else to tell you about myself. I mean, I do work, I do some consulting work globally with, some governments. I told you already, I served as a regulator. I served in the executive committee of ACPA that regulates you guys, future CPAs. I am director, I think I already said, of the program. I did a bit of kind of political and business diplomacy advice on governments, some presidents, prime ministers. I enjoy that part a bit, and I do global leaders forums where we have presidents, prime ministers, and kind of debate different topics. So I've done a lot of different things in different fields. Let's put it this way. I'm the person who likes to create things, and I get bored quickly of things. And somebody asked me where do I find time? So, and I also have a wife who gives me looks once in a while, and 3 kids, and we try to enjoy life. And I love sports, and I do whatever. Every quarter I do these Zen meditation retreats with monks where we sit in, because I always talk too much. And this is 10 days silence, no cell phones, nothing at all, and just 18 hours a day meditation. And I swim winters, and I love to do that in New York City when I am in New York City. So, I like extremes. I'm kind of extreme guy. How do I find time for these things? I'm not involved in operational end ever since I retired from Wall Street, which happened rather early in my life, in anything in detail level. I like kind of, I'm some people could call it BS artist, right? But I like to talk, I like to create, and then I let people do what they do, and so that creates a lot of free time for me. I came back to Baruch, to be honest with you, after I was done with Wall Street, is just to give back. When I came to this wonderful country, I really didn't have anybody to talk to or anybody to give me any advice. And I spoke with a few professors, and, with professors, it's tricky because most of them never been really in real life, or, these are a lot of us are very book smart, but, always happy to give a lot of advices, right? But, my advice to you people is, if you ask somebody for advice, see how successful they were at that, because otherwise these are empty conversations. But, the only people I could talk to outside of my little immigrant community were professors. So, and they gave me some helpful advices. So I was always grateful for that, and I wanted to give back. And that's, as you could guess, probably that's really the only reason I am here with you. I enjoy what I do. And to that point, I know a lot of you also have questions, professional, career, life. One thing I've done also at some point of my life, I've developed this program, because sometimes people, it started with students, by the way, believe it or not, asking me, okay, professor, you came as us, an immigrant, and you've done this, and you had this uniquely successful career in Wall Street and government, and I did a bit of TV, I had my show and had this and book and whatever, like, how do you become successful? And these questions never made sense to me. And by the way, success is a very relative term, right? So, there are people who are very successful and happy, without any of that nonsense that I put myself through. But, so it's very personal, some people are happy and successful by having wonderful, peace of mind, and that's great too. So in any case, but the long story short, I answered students' questions. Then I was asked to give a talk to business school, and then, long story short, I was asked to do world tour. So I did Europe, Asia. I taught what I called my talk counterintuitive intelligence. I called it CIA, counterintuitive intelligence amplifiers, which is basically tools how to think out of the box, like counterintuitively. And then I did a bit of teaching to Fortune 500 executives, and that's how I got to to do other things. So my point is, the reason I'm mentioning this to you and sharing all this with you, not to impress you. I hope you understand I've satisfied my ego long ago, if there is anything left at that point. I'm sharing with you for two reasons. One is exactly what I saw already, is just to show you, because a lot of you, a lot of people, doesn't matter you're immigrant or not, you don't know what's possible in life, and we kind of quite often limit our own abilities, and not abilities, but opportunities by our own thinking. So I do want to inspire you guys to achieve great things, whatever they mean for you, number one. And number two, the other reason I share all these different things I've done, so you could take advantage of it. Okay, and advantage of it in the following way. What I will do, I'll do one live session for you guys, coaching session. It's a bonus for being in my class. I do it towards second half of the course. It's not mandatory to attend. You don't need to attend it. But for those of you who want to ask questions about whatever you want to talk about, professional career, education, personal, business, I don't care what it is. I will be very happy to answer your questions. And this is one of kind of, kickers for me, and I know for you guys, because, usually students appreciate it greatly. Okay, so with that said, that's the reason I felt I should share with you, especially since the question was raised, so you know where to ask me questions, if that makes any sense. Jose.
Hi, Professor. How are you? I just have one quick question. So the lectures that recorded, how typically long are they? Are they the same time as class? Is it usually a shorter time, would be longer?
They vary. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Sometimes I think the longest is probably an hour and a half, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I may put two different links, but it's going to be, one thing you will see that it's not going to be a lot. I don't believe in quantity. I care more about quality. But for those of you, there are always students. Again, out of 300-400, maybe 2-3, but they say, I need more homework problems. You don't assign enough. So I will also, after we're done with each chapter, we'll open up homework and answers to the rest of the homework that I did not assign. So you guys could practice and go at it and do whatever you want. Okay.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Kadian.
Hi, I had a question regarding the structure of the class a little. I noticed, I don't remember if it's in the syllabus or somewhere on Blackboard, that it mentioned that we're going to focus on individual taxes, but I started looking at the book and I saw mentions of like corporate taxes. So I wanted to know if we're going to double in like partnership or corporation taxes, or if it's solely individual taxes.
Yeah, the focus of this course is solely individual federal income tax. But to the extent, as you will learn, things intertwine a bit. So whenever applicable, I'll touch upon topics that are relevant. But there are separate courses that we offer for corporate tax, for partnership tax, and that's in part of Masters in Tax program, which we don't cover in this course. It's a basic introductory course for federal income tax, okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Once you're done, just lower your hand, please. Julie.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I already missed your answer to my question. My question was, what about the attendance? Are you taking attendance every time we're logging, or how are you gonna manage the attendance?
We keep it a secret. We tag your IP and know when you're in or not. No, I'm kidding.
There is 400 people.
Yeah. So to answer your question, when we do live session, it captures who logged in, who didn't log in. Do I personally care about it in personal level? Really not. I understand you guys are busy, and this is part of the reason why historically, and I designed the course, frankly speaking, based on the students' requests, really. I mean, you cannot please everybody, right? There's always a segment of students who's going to be unhappy no matter what the situation is. but people were asking, we have jobs, we have this, we have boyfriends, we have girlfriends, we have both, we have neither. Can you put lectures? Can we watch at different time? We're in China, we're here. So that's how I design it. So on personal level, I don't care, but school cares about it. So, but I don't know, I've never had issues. Let me just leave it at that. Certain things, the less you talk about it, the better for everybody. I don't know if you understand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Edward.
Nice to meet you. So along those lines, as far as your live presentations, which I believe you said would be mostly consisting of like Q&A, are you going to make those available for recordings as well when you're finished?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I mean, that's the goal, right? I'm just so scared. Maybe it's the lawyer inside of me. Maybe it's somebody who's not very good with technology. I'm always scared that something goes wrong technically, so, but that's my goal, and that's how we always did it. And the plan is to do it the same way, unless there is something else. Okay.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Edward. Julie, is that a hand up? Okay, maybe you didn't.
No, sorry. Yeah, let me turn off.
Okay. Alexei?
Hello, Professor. Do you hear me?
I could hear you very well.
Okay, cool. I have a
Let me pause you for a moment. I just want to remind everybody that at 1 o'clock, I believe, Sabrina, 1 o'clock, right? Cengage representatives coming?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, 1 o'clock, people. So you don't want to miss it. All right, so I'll take your Q&A. We'll discuss a few more things. And then it's going to be Cengage rock and roll time. And any one of you who did not buy it yet, who has any issues with the program or anything else, this is your only chance. I will not address any questions when it comes to technology due to the reasons already explained. So this is your chance, so you don't have to stand in line, on the queue when you call them, okay? So make sure you prepare your questions because now is the time. Sorry about it, Edward, go ahead.
Alexei, okay, don't worry about it. Okay,
Alexei, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so to make the conclusion that you said about the material, about this class, in other words, despite of any numbers, any rates, interest for each state, I don't know, like for about the taxes, if we know the method and the formulas for calculate rightly, we can do that, right? We have to make it more pay attention for the formulas, for the method, how to do that. It doesn't matter which numbers.
Exactly, 100%. You're correct. Because also remember, I give you exam open book, right? Open notes. So all the numbers you're gonna have in front of you anyway. So it's not. I don't require. You don't need for this course to memorize the way it's done in other courses to memorize numbers. What is the deduction this year? What is the percentage this year? What is the number, whatever. You don't need to memorize the numbers because you could have them in front of you. You could always plug them in. What you need to understand is how they work and how to plug them in and what is the formula. Yes. Although even look
right. It's mean like if we have exam with the current taxes in this year or exactly this year, we have to have just only tables with the rates of specifically this year. It will be helpful to make the good grade for exam if you know the formulas and method how to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. My question done.
You're very welcome. Magdi?
Hi, Professor. It's MD. Quick question about the homework. For next week, will we have multiple submissions or multiple attempts per question, or is it just one submission for the homework?
I think it's one submission, right, Sabrina?
Yes, one attempt.
Thank you. Sabrina is an expert in all those things. I don't know what I would do without her, but that's the answer. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. Guys, this is your opportunity to ask additional questions. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting for your questions, I will be going through, I just talked through, but I'm actually supposed to have some type of class outline. So I'm just going to go back to the points I wanted to cover to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I have a question clear.
Professor, I was just thinking before you mentioned that this class is very, very lucky, but I lost the rest of it. Why are we very, very lucky?
Because you have me as a professor.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm
now-
kidding. That's not what I said. I said you guys are lucky because what I used to do, and we used to do in the tax area, because we live right now during dual tax system. So there is a law of the land for taxes, and then there's a temporary law that was implemented 2018, and it's valid until 2025. And both of them operate in the same time, in a weird way. So in reality, only the temporary law operates now. But if you are going to adjust any of the tax returns for prior years, you need to know prior year. And in a couple of years, this law is going to disappear, it's sunset, and the old law is going to kick in. So we used to teach you both. And it was fine, but we made executive decision to just have you focus on one, which is the current law. And that's what I told you. I feel you guys are very lucky because you're really studying half of the material that you would have to otherwise. But the reason we changed this, just so you understand, is because, at least from what I saw, students had difficulty keeping separate rules separate, they would confuse the two. And to me, students wouldn't do well, not because they don't understand, because there's sometimes, and again, majority was fine, but I care about the entire class, and students would go back and forth and flip and flop. And I said, well, that's just not, and plus, as we just discussed with Alexei, as long as you understand the fundamental, once the rules change, it's easy. Although those changes are more fundamental, but that's still okay. Okay, you're very welcome. Norhan?
Yes, Professor. I have a question about the videos. Will you post them today or tomorrow?
Videos. So the actual first lecture on the first chapter 1, which is not going to be long, I will post it today, and you will have the whole the whole week to watch it. I encourage you to do it as soon as possible. And I'll post, once we're done with today, that's when it's going to be done. And I'll post homework also today. And I will also post, as soon as it's available, recording of today's conversation.
Okay, thank you. One more question is, do you recommend me reading the book first or watching the videos first?
I require, if you take a look at the Blackboard, for you to read each chapter before each lecture, because then you come better prepared and you are in a better position to understand material, process it. If you just simply watch the lecture without reading the book, it's going to be much more difficult for you.
No, I mean,
even though I teach, assuming you did not read anything at all, it's just for your betterment, so to speak, you're better off reading. If I understood your question correctly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm gonna do both, read the book and watch the lectures, but which one I do first, like to make it easy?
Definitely read the book first.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Regina?
Hi, Professor, quick question. We're gonna be taking the exams during class time?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Pratik?
Pratik, Professor, back to the homework question. We have one attempt, right? Is it possible to have 2 attempts?
Again, for true or false questions, if it's not right, it's wrong, right? It should not be based on trial. You don't have to submit your answer. You could take all the time you need. But once you decide to submit, you're not on the timing, there's a flexibility there, but once you submit, that's it. We went through these decisions, when we moved to the platform, we had a lot of discussions with students, with faculty internally, and this is kind of the position I decided to take for my class. So you're not timed, and you take your time, but once you answer, and again, please remember, homework is, part of the 10%, right? But there's also project there. So, and also what I consider doing is dropping the lowest homework. I've done it. I don't see why I wouldn't do it this time too. So, and on top of it, remember again, you know, the whole thing is always how you did relative to the class. So I think it's okay. Okay, so let me go through to see if I covered everything. Sabrina, is there something else that you feel I should mention that I did not mention yet? I know I'm great, but in the unlikely chance I missed something, please let me know.
I don't think there's anything else to address.
I'm just a perfection. That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just go through my notes now. And if you guys get any new questions, don't be shy.
Sir.
Oh, so another thing, what I do need to mention is quite often, because I share my background, right, with you. So sometimes students kind of misinterpret it, and now they look at me at their families and their uncles designated CPA, tax lawyer, advisor, and all that stuff. So to be clear, I don't give, first of all, it's our policy, schools, departmental policy, and certainly tax area policy. I mean, we don't give outside this course, we don't give, advisory work. We don't do any of that. Please don't get upset. It's a liability for the school, so that's one thing. But if there are certain situations where I could maybe, recommend somebody, if I know, because I know, most of the time it's difficult to find good professionals. If I have somebody, if I'm able to do it, I gladly will. And here's another very important point that I'd like to mention. So because we're going to study law, and quite often there is no yes or no answer to any question, most of the time. And you'll learn that most of the time the correct answer is, it depends, right? I want you to understand that, and also on top of it, because there's such a large number of you in the class, there is no way in the world for me to answer your questions through emails by writing an essay to each and every person, because there's no yes or no answer in 99% of the cases. So it's precisely because of that, these types of questions should be addressed during the office hours, when there is kind of one-on-one conversation, which Sabrina, as I said, starts with, and then follows through with me if there's still something left. So please understand that, okay? And also when you send homework related, whatever the situation is, please send it. You have Sabrina's direct email. She's extremely responsible, much more responsible than I am. So please send that email directly to her, okay? Just so you know. And then during office hours, I'm happy to address whatever that you will want me to address, starting with Sabrina, and then I'll kind of move in whatever is necessary. Okay, I see another hand. Devin.
Are you gonna give out any Ds this semester?
Am I gonna give any what? Oh, Ds?
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Oh, sounds good. I got another question.
Yes.
Extra credit.
Since you asked me a question, by the way, I also want to say, out of 300-400 students, there's obviously a few students who are will not get Ds, but they will get Fs, right? As always the case. So to that level, a few things actually. So first of all, to that end, if there's anybody who is in this class now who happened to fail my class before, besides personal preference, I really believe it's a bad idea for you to be in my class again. Again, it's kind of,
But did you give out Ds last semester?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I'm probably, yeah. As I said, the answer was yes, I gave you. So I will stand behind my statement that I will reserve the right to give a D, if that's your question. And what I wanted to say, if I may, just to finish my statement, is that there are different professors, different styles work differently for different people. So if somebody didn't do well before, you should definitely be in different class. And historically, statistically speaking, those who didn't do well in prior semester are not gonna do well again. I mean, I had student, I don't know, I mean, I tried to say this thing, but there was one student last semester who was in my class who failed before, and he insisted on sitting in my class. I cannot kick him out as much as I'd like to for his own benefit. For his own benefit, he obviously, there's something wrong. He thought maybe taking the same class over again, same exams, it's just not happening, and he failed again. And I said again, why just stop it? Doing the same thing, expecting different results is the definition of insanity, right? But again, all we can do is just give this type of feedback.
Why don't you give extra credit?
If I may, so the composition, Devin, we haven't started a course where it seems like we're already negotiating with you. So the composition of the course is stated in the outline. I don't know. Did you have a chance to look at it outline, Devin?
No, but would you give extra credit?
No, I already said that. So the composition of the course, how grade is computed, is on the outline. And it's 40, I'll repeat gladly again, it's 45% midterm, 45% final, and 10% split between homework and the project, okay? And that's the rule, how this course will be handled when it comes to determination of grade. The only other thing I'll also say, which I already said, but just in case, I am required to follow departmental guideline on the maximum A's, B's, C's, and D's, and so one more thing I wanted to mention, and that is some of you who sit in this class already were exposed to taxes. Some of you work in VITA, some of you work in accounting department, some of you have uncle CPA or father or mother or the whole ancestry of CPAs, and all that stuff. So I just want to say something, and that is, please make sure you do the same work as everybody else does. Historically, those people who feel they know this stuff, many of them actually do on average worse because they don't prepare as well for the midterm. And comes the exam, everybody's going to be on the same page. So if you didn't do the work, you're not going to be as prepared. So please make sure you do that, okay? So that's that.
So if you fail both exams, can you still get a D?
No, you cannot. If you fail both exams, you fail the course.
Oh, so if you pass one exam and fail the other exam, could you still get a D?
I don't know. It depends how the class did. So if you're wondering how that works, Devin, what you can do is look at the I see your aspiration here, but I hope you'll do better than D, Devin. I really hope you could get an A or B or at worst C. I don't know why you're focusing on D even before you even started the course.
Because your exams are really hard.
Well, they're supposed to be hard because I need to separate A's from B's from C's. That's what the department requires. But no matter how hard they are, if you think about it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I need to, and I'm obligated to all of you, for those of you who have the stronger grasp of material, to get better grades. If I give easy exam and everybody's going to be in the same position, I still cannot give everybody an A. So then what am I going to do in that case? I mean, again, Devin, I'm happy to get in your shoes, right? And I understand where you're coming from, but you can't just simply sit there and, have that conversation. Get in my shoes. If I'm supposed to give maximum this percentage of A's, this percentage of B's, this percentage of C's, this percentage of D's, how am I going to differentiate with you if I give an easy exam and everybody does great? Explain it to me. Explain it to me. Do you have an answer for me?
I don't know, but I think you should make your exams easier.
So your answer is, I don't care. I just want you to give me a D. And I appreciate your position, but you can't live life just only from your perspective. That's all I could say to this. So if you don't mind, I'll move on to next student. Is that okay, Devin?
Sure.
Thank you. Alexei, welcome back.
Yeah, I will continue the question about exam so quickly. So you said we have a multiple choice, the sound question true or false. So my question is, the sound question is will consist we have to multiply, calculate, right? Or the sound question we have to know definitions of statement, right?
I guess, yeah. It's going to be consistent. Exam questions, by the way, are going to be very consistent with the questions in the book. And there are practice questions that could be available from authors also. They're going to be, following kind of the same pattern.
Right. I mean, when we make the preparation for exam, when I give preparation 2 weeks, for example, we have specific questions.
I'm sorry. 2 weeks is when I tell you the notice when the exam is. Okay. Your preparation from the exam starts from today. 1 second. Do we have representatives from Cengage with us at this point?
Yeah, Josh and myself are here.
Lovely.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, gentlemen. So thank you for joining us. We've been waiting for you in perfect timing. You guys very, very on time, which we appreciate. So you know what to do here. We have a large class right now. We have 256 students, right? So, they were all on notice to buy Cengage in advance, but, I'm sure there are some people who are behind the ball, as always the case. So maybe what I'd like to do, guys, please lower your hands, first of all. I'll be happy to take a few more questions after we're done with this segment. But I will let you gentlemen first, if you want to say a few words, but my big goal for your appearance here is to answer students' questions. If somebody had difficulties, if somebody had problems, but since you know this better than anybody else, maybe you want to make some preemptive strike, so to speak. So I'll let you take it from here.
Sure, I'm happy to take the lead here. Thanks for inviting us to your class. We're very happy to help out with the student registration process. For those of you who are here, I know this is being recorded. I'm going to share a couple of links with you guys today. So if you have something to take some notes down, you can certainly do that. Professor Melnick, do I have permission to share screen? I'm going to try it here. Let's see if it's up. It is letting me. Awesome. So the first website that you're going to go to, if you've already bought your access, or if you're looking on how to register your course, is this website up here, startstrong.cengage.com. And this class, we're using CNow, and we're using it in Blackboard. So, and then you're going to hit no on this last step. But this will go over everything that I'm talking about today. So if you forget something, if you haven't had a chance to purchase your materials yet, and you're not doing so until this weekend or until next week, and you're like, oh man, they came to the class, I don't remember what they were talking about. This is where you're going to find everything that I'm going over today. So there's a video. If you're a video learner, that's a great way just to walk through it. The first thing you're going to do is access your Blackboard course. Blackboard does look differently depending on the institution that you're at. So it may look a little different than this picture here, but it should look pretty similar. You'll find a module somewhere that has access your Cengage resources. It might be called your accounting class. You may see this little logo towards it. If you're unsure, just make sure that you're looking around. You can always ask your instructor too. But that's going to be the first link that you're going to click to register for this course. It'll probably give you maybe a red X. It might say you need to enable pop-ups. It might ask you to open it in a new window. Just follow those prompts and you'll be able to get access from that. So if you're not able to click into it, make sure you're enabling your pop-ups in your browser, or make sure you're following that prompt to open it in the new window. If you've used Cengage in a previous class, this is where you'll log in with that information. We always recommend using your student email just to keep things simple. If you've never used Cengage before, you will click this create an account button right down here. And again, follow the same procedure. So make sure that you're using, your school email address and creating a password that's unique to you, so that way you can log in. Once you do that the first time, you'll never have to log back into Cengage from your LMS again. You can just click those links and work through your work as best as possible. They'll find your course materials, you'll hit enroll. If you've already made your purchase for this course, you can put in that access code here. It'll give you the chance to do it. You can see there's a little blue box that says enter your access code. If you haven't purchased your materials, if you're not looking to purchase from the bookstore, if you want to purchase through us, you will see your specific course materials here. These prices are not accurate for your course. This is a general a general view here. But you can purchase either a single term for this course as you would like to, which would also include your ebook as well as the homework platform. You can also purchase Cengage Unlimited if you do have more than one class. That's a lower cost way of getting access to all of your Cengage materials. You can pay $119 for that. You'll have access to this class and any other classes that you're taking that are using Cengage materials. So if you're purchasing that way, that's a great way to do it. You do have temporary access to your course materials. So if you're waiting on financial aid or you're waiting to make that purchase until you're able to get there next week, excuse me, you can already start working on your work. We highly encourage you to enroll now. That way, you can get started on doing the work required for the class. So that's a very high overview of what it looks like. Again, for those looking for that website, it is startstrong.cengage.com. That's going to be your best bet for it. Some common issues we have. If you are facing an issue with logging in and you're using Google Chrome, try clearing your cookies and cache or try using a different browser for the first time. Sometimes there's just a disconnect between some of Chrome's operations and Blackboard and sometimes even Cengage. The other one is to make sure your pop-ups are enabled so that way you can click into your class. But other than those two issues, which do pop up sometimes, there's not a lot of common ones. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let's see what's in the chat. No questions yet. If anybody wants to raise their hands. Charles, it looks like you're raising your hand.
Yeah, it's about the pricing of the subscriptions and all that, because currently for a single term, it's not 100, it's 160.
Sure,
And
every time is a little different.
Yeah,
That's just
and the subscription is the same. So I think this is the only course I have that's using Cengage. So I'm wondering, can I cancel the subscription if I buy it when the course is over? Or do I have to pay the 160 for the, because like, I mean, because after this course, I mean, I wouldn't want to pay another 120 if I'm not, like not taking any
Sure.
classes.
So the subscription is only for one semester. So definitely make whatever the best affordable option is for you. If it's the individual course or the 120, it sounds like it is cheaper. That does end at the semester. So you don't have to worry about it renewing or anything like that. That just covers your course materials for this semester for all your courses.
So I would have to, so if I did want to use the subscription, I'd have to deliberately renew it for the next semester then?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's not an auto renewal process. It does end. It gives you plenty of notice when it ends, and then you can choose to buy it again for different semesters if you do have other classes using Cengage.
And how is that any different from the 160 one-term subscription? I mean, option then?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So Cengage Unlimited came out a couple of years ago as an attempt to address high costs of textbooks and course materials. Some of our individual products, accounting being one of them, are still actually more expensive than that 120 price point. But at that 120 price point, you are getting everything that's at the 160 price point. So you'll have access to your CNOW platform. You'll have access to your ebook. You'll also get some other bells and whistles that are pretty cool. There's a career center in there, some additional study tools and things like that. So it's definitely the better choice for you for this class.
Okay. Thank you.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
And then we have another question here.
Yes, I do have a question. If I want to get the physical book, do I have to buy it or just rent it for this semester? And if I rent it, I get the access for Connect?
So you do need a new access to a book to get the CNOW access. So the bookstore may be carrying bundles that has a printed copy of the book along with that access code. We do also make those sales as well, but you do need a new access code to get access to CNOW. What some students do is they get their access through us and then they find, a low cost rental. The other option you can do if you only want the book for this semester is if you do that 120 option, that Cengage Unlimited, you can rent the book for free, a hard copy of the book, and then you just pay $8 to ship it there and back. So the book is free, it's $8 for shipping, and you have the print book for the whole semester.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Who's next in our queue here?
I have a question with regard to the access our material. Do we have a mobile app that we can download to gain access to all of this that we have in the website?
That's a great question. So I don't know the ins and outs of Blackboard, but Blackboard, I believe, has mobile access. A lot of Cengage can be accessed via your mobile app. We definitely recommend you logging in through a computer first, just because sometimes it makes those account connections a little bit better. Your homework assignments and other things like that that are through CNOW are best done on a PC or an Apple device. But your ebook and other study materials can be accessed through a mobile app very easily once you have gained access.
So you're saying that I should use the app of Blackboard to gain access to the ebook, because that's what I'm interested in. Sometimes
You should use the Cengage app. So once you register the first time, following the instructions I presented, you can download the Cengage app to your phone and you'll see the ebook there once you log in with your account credentials.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
And you can have the book read to you too. You can highlight, take notes. There's a lot of great features about using the interactive ebook. So that's a great way that a lot of our students use.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Danielle, it looks like you're next on the list.
Yeah, I currently have a 14-day subscription. Do I have to wait for that to expire in order to buy the book, or can I buy the book now?
That's a great question. So there's a 14-day trial period for all of our platforms and products, just to make sure we give adequate time for students to get in, to get access, however they choose to, whether it's through us, the bookstore, or other vendors. You can choose to purchase access whenever you would like. When you log into your account, you'll probably see somewhere at the top right, something about like getting access now, purchasing access now. You can click that and follow that prompt, and it'll take you through that process if you're choosing to do it through us. If you do purchase an access code from the bookstore, you'll do the exact same thing. You'll just already have your access code available, so you can put those numbers in.
Okay, thank you. And do you have a discount code that you can make like available to us?
We do not. Our discount is Cengage Unlimited. It is $40 off of the title with CNOW originally. So you do save $40 going with the subscription option, but there's not individual discount codes like you would put in like a coupon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Nikki, it looks like you're next. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Well, it's always hard when I first start.
That's okay. My real name is also Nahama. No one can say that, so we're good. I did want to ask you in regards to being someone who also like reads the actual newspaper in my hand. I want both, right? So what is the option with that? But obviously I don't want to be spending an arm and a leg. That being the case, and also in regards to, you know, practice questions, right? And navigating that area, I found can be a little bit confusing on an online platform.
Those are great questions. So yeah, the most affordable option to getting both the print and the e-copy as well as your homework platform is definitely going to be the subscription. It is $40 off of the original digital only component. And you also get that $8 rental. So if you like to have that print book, it's $8. That's the shipping cost there and back. And you can have it for the entire semester. You can highlight, you can take notes in the book. Like, it's not like you have to keep it pristine as long as it's, you know, nice when you return it, but you can make those annotations as you would like to. In terms of practice questions, that's a great point. Your subscription will also come with additional accounting practice study questions, but within CNOW, depending on what your instructor has made available, every course is a little bit different. There should be access to some test prep. So if you go into the far side of that, there'll be test prep and different things like that. What I can have is, Josh, if you don't mind after this, when we're off this call together, is, you know, you can send Professor Melnick, you can send him some information on the test prep, just so in case any students want to take advantage of that. He may already have that available, but just in case.
Please send it to CC Sabrina, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Does that entail, only because I've only used McGraw, McHill, whatever, the other company, and they had great, during each chapter, I really don't, I'm not familiar with Cengage, the multiple choice questions, the, you know, keywords within each chapter that really just made a big difference. Is that
That's a great
included?
question. Yeah, you'll find our platform is comparable. We actually have within our accounting platform a lot more adaptability too. So you can choose what you want to study more on. You can choose the types of questions you want, whether it's, you know, key concepts or whether it's more application-based questions and you want to do more problems, things like that. So you'll have a wide selection of practice materials available to you for this course within the CNOW platform.
Okay. Thank you.
Great questions. Thank you. Looks like we have one more raised hand. If you want to go off mute and ask your question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon. I have a question. I have purchased the unlimited, right? And it is only 4 months access, but just in case, if I want to change it, I mean, upgrade to the 12 months, is it the upgrade have the expiry date, like, after, like, 7 days or 40 days, something like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you do want to choose a different purchasing option, I would definitely reach out to our technical support. Josh, if you want to put that number in the chat, if you have it pulled up, they're going to be the ones who can handle that. We can't do anything personally with payments and student information. We just don't have the data security to do that on our own personal computers. We're here to help with registration, but we do have an entire customer support and tech support team that would be more than happy to help you make any changes that you would like to make to your subscription.
Yes, because on my subscription, the page under I mean, at the bottom of the page, it shows I can upgrade it to the 12 months, but I want to know, this upgrade have the time limit, like I have to upgrade it right now, or
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a cutoff date for upgrading to a different term length. I don't know what that is on top of my head, but we can find that answer for you and make sure that we get that answer to you. It's typically within the first couple of weeks of the course, usually during that trial period. But we can always figure out a way to work around that if we need to, if there's something else that's an extraneous circumstance. And thanks, Josh, for putting that number in. That's the number that Josh just put in the chat. If anybody wants to jot that down, that is our customer support line. They are 24/7. They are great. They're here to help you with any questions you have after this as well. So make sure you make a note of that. You can also go to support.cengage.com, and I'll put that in the chat.
You could also tweet at Cengage Help, and they will get back to you there too, if you're into like using Twitter and that type of thing.
Thanks, Josh. David, it looks like you have the next hand raised if you want to ask your question.
Hello.
Yeah.
I was just wondering because I didn't sign up for Cengage using my Baruch account, so I was just and I purchased the access already, and I see it on my dashboard and everything. But I was just wondering, do you have to like connect it to Blackboard, or is it fine? Will like the professor know that I did the assignment based on my name?
That's a great question. This does happen from time to time. When you log in from Blackboard for the first time, if you haven't done that, just use the email address that you made your account with. We can change your email address on the back end if you'd like us to. You can also go to my account and change that there if you want to, but your name will still populate correctly on the roster. Sometimes it just keeps it a little cleaner for the login process and the rostering process to have the email, but just make sure that when you're logging in through Blackboard the first time, when you click that Cengage icon, you are clicking the or logging in with the email that you created your account with.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat, and then we'll get to the next raised hand. After we buy the unlimited subscription, how do we add our other courses? That's a great question. So your other instructors may use Cengage in their Blackboard shells similar to this. You would click the links, follow a very similar path. Or if they're just using an ebook or something else that Cengage provides for your classes, you would just search that ebook and you can put that in as well. You can also reach out to the instructor and just ask about your course materials just to make sure that everything's on the right page. Because some of your instructors might be using us, they might be using our competitors, which are obviously not part of that subscription. So just to make sure everything lines up there. And then we have one more raised hand here if you'd like to ask your question.
Yes, I had a similar question because I know some of my other classes are going to be using Connect with McGraw-Hill as well. So I just click on the link that they have sent, and then I should have access.
That's going to depend. We don't work for McGraw-Hill or Connect, so I don't know the login process for those platforms. They are not included with Cengage Unlimited because McGraw-Hill is a different company. I would follow whatever instructions that instructor provides for that. It should be something similar, but because we don't work directly with those platforms, I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay, yeah, my bad. I got confused for a second. Thank you.
No problem. Someone asked if there's a way to keep the rental. I don't believe so. They may have changed that. There is certain print upgrades that you can buy if you choose that you want to keep the book. But if you're choosing the rental option, you are going to obviously have to return that at the end of the semester. These are really great questions. Thanks for being so engaged with the content today. Is there any other questions that we can help with?
This is your opportunity. I know in the past, By the way, thank you very much. This is Tyler. This is great stuff and exactly what we need.
Great.
I know in the past, and which is completely understandable, when semester starts, and if students having technical difficulties accessing information or purchasing, and they call customer service, and the whole United States is calling, it's difficult to answer all the questions. So this is precisely why we've been arranging these sessions. So guys, this is your last chance. After that, you're going to deal with this directly on your own. You could always call Cengage, but again, I'm not a technical expert. That's not what I do here, and this is what this session is all about. So going twice, any questions?
Question.
Okay, please raise your hand before going, but go ahead, Patrick.
For the rental, will you send a label with the rental so we could return it back, or we have to prepare?
That's the exact way it works. That's a great question, Patrick. So when you get the book, it'll come with a return label. They'll typically ask you to save the packaging just to make it easier. That being said, if you misplace the label, we understand these things happen. Just contact our support and they'll probably be able to help you out with that, just in case it does get lost throughout the semester. But they typically include that. You'll probably even get notices in your Cengage dashboard about that too.
Thank you.
I think I see another hand. Edward?
All right, so I believe I purchased the correct software. And right now I'm like at a home page. It says assignments, and I see a dashboard. I see that like the first under all assignments, I see that the first assignment was made available due on February 4th. But I click on assignments I can take now. It says no assignments. So will that be updated today? Or because you said like after the class, we could start on our assignments.
That's going to be class specific. We can certainly take a look at the way the CNOW is set up after this presentation just to make sure everything's opening the way it should. Sometimes this can happen when the browser needs to have its cookies or cache cleared. It's just essentially taking you through a holding pattern. So you can definitely try doing that or trying a different browser. But we can take a look at that after the class just to make sure everything's rolling correctly as it should.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, great question.
Norhan?
Yes, I have a question about the option you told me about, the ebook with the rental physical one. I can't find it. I only see two options, three options: the e-textbook, the digital platform, and the bundle.
Yes, you'll have to make your Cengage Unlimited purchase first at the $119.99, and then you'll have an option to add a print rental after that is completed, because that's the only one that's available through. So you want to make sure you pick the $119 option if you do want the print option, and then after that, after your account updates with that information, you'll have the option to make the print rental then.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, of course. Great question. I see a question that came in the chat. Is there an option to have a permanent physical copy while having the unlimited subscription? That's a great question. Let us get back to you on that one. I know when we first started Cengage Unlimited, there was an option for a print purchase upgrade where you could purchase a discounted copy or a loose leaf copy of the title. I'm not sure if that's still an option because it was underutilized. I know typically the students preferred the rental option. So let us check on that. And we'll follow up with an email that can go out to the class. It'll clarify that a little bit for you.
I just have one final question. So you said if we buy the subscription, then it will just expire after 4 months, right? Because it's a 4-month access, and then we won't have to renew it, right? Unless we want to renew it ourselves.
That is exactly correct. Yeah, that is exactly correct. And 4 months is a little bit of a loose term because we know a lot of courses are 15 weeks. Sometimes, it's a day or a couple of days after. That's not going to trigger like an automatic response. Your access to the CNOW dashboard for all of your assignments and your ebook will end when this class ends. So if there is like a couple of days here or there, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to charge anymore or ask you to renew your subscription or anything along those lines.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes, great question.
Okay, last chance. No questions. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. This is very much appreciated and very helpful. And thank you for doing what you guys do.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Good day. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so that was the segment with Cengage, which I wanted to make sure those of you who had some questions or difficulties or puzzled get help, and I'm glad it took place. So I'm really done for today. I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. If there is anything else, if anybody has any other questions, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to post first chapter lecture. I just want to say for first chapter, we're going to cover first chapter, but you didn't read chapter for today, right? And I didn't go through it and didn't assign homework, so it's perfectly fine. You can read chapter 1. In reality, there's I go through it in the lecture. Frankly speaking, feedback that I've always gotten from students that just simply listening to lecture from chapter 1 is enough, that it's not worth reading chapter 1 because it's too general of a class. It's your choice. You don't have to read it. And while we're at it, you skip chapter 2. We don't cover chapter 2. So you're reading, for the next class, really, I want you to start reading chapter 3. That's really where we get into the real conversation. Chapter 1 is more of a detailed background to tax system class, and I'll put a lecture on it as soon as we finish, along with the homework. Okay. I see, Norhan, you have a question.
Sorry, I forgot to.
Okay. Anybody else? Mafijul. Mafijul, if you have a question, please start speaking. Otherwise,
Yes. Hello, Professor. How many chapters are we going to cover this semester?
How many chapters? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. About 7, 8 chapters in total. 9. I try not to push more than that.
And the sequence will be followed by the exam, and following exam would be the chapter what we finished is not going to follow the next exam, right?
Yeah, of course. I can only test. I don't see how anybody could test you on things they didn't teach, right? So
Yes.
as we cover the material, once we cover the material, you'll get tested on it. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How's that, Carlos?
So we should watch chapter 1 lecture video before Friday, or starting as of next Friday?
I'm posting the lecture today. I encourage you to watch it as soon as possible. Next Friday is going to be new lecture. This video today is the substance of the conversation. I just wanted to give you opportunity to ask questions, but this is what you should watch today, tomorrow, day after, sometime during the week. Next Friday is going to be new lecture.
Okay.
Charles.
Yes, I have 2 things to ask. First off, I kind of missed what you said about chapter 3. So we have to do chapter 3 also by next week, or I'm sorry, I missed what you
I
what you
want you
said.
to start reading chapter 3, and I'll actually assign homework from chapter 3. I don't assign any homework from chapter 1. Chapter 1 is a kind of very general chapter, and that's what I'm saying. You don't really need to read it. Some of you, I'm scared to say don't read it because I am going to talk about it, but for 99.9% of you, simply watching my lecture on chapter 1 will be sufficient.
So we watch your lecture.
The real conversation is chapter 3, and that's where I assign homework, and that's what I want you to read for chapter 3.
Okay, so we have chapter 3 homework due Friday, and as well as watching the lectures for that in chapter 1, right?
I don't know. I don't assign any lecture for chapter 3. I don't post any lecture for chapter 3. I will post lecture today for chapter 1. I will assign homework from chapter 3. Remember, I said I purposely assign homework in advance to force you to read, and then I post chapter 3 next Friday.
And so our preparation for the homework of chapter 3 should be based on the reading.
Correct. And that's exactly, guys, please mute yourself. There is some noise in the background. Everybody should be muted unless the person is the one who's speaking.
And also, I just have a bit of a curiosity regarding, because I noticed for the past couple of years of the classes I've taken, they use Connect for McGraw-Hill. and it's been like quite a while since we've used Keenage. I'm pronouncing it wrong, sorry, but I'm just wondering, like, was that a conscious decision, or was it just circumstantial, or were you involved at all in that decision process, or?
Yeah, I pick the material that I use for my class, just like all the faculty, the teachers in my department. Each faculty picks whatever book they want to use, and the book gets supported by the platform that supports that. So as I mentioned earlier, I feel this is the best book. It's not a perfect book, but it's the best book in the marketplace. I think it's fantastic. It gives you material, it gives you illustration, it gives you examples how to apply material. It's a very good book.
Okay, thank you.
And as it happens, every course, 4,300 or 3,300 tax course uses the same book. Okay. Tao, guys, forgive me. As I get older, I notice my vision gets blurrier, so it's tougher for me to read. Maybe it's time for me to go get glasses. I don't know. I don't think I'm psychologically ready for that. But forgive me if I misread your name. Kaltao, I think. Right?
Yes, Kai Tao. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
I just want to confirm our class is not ranking, right? Our grade just based on the midterm and final, how what grade we get, right? I mean, it's not ranking, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Oh, I mean, this class is not ranking like 25. I mean, in my other accounting course, is 25% student got A and 50% got A and B, like that.
I mentioned it a few times already. Tax is part of Department of Accountancy. So the guidelines for each level, 3,000 level course, 4,000 level course, apply to this course as well. And I am limited by the number of A's I could give out, by number of B's, C's, and D's. And that's why there are some people who ultimately are upset, why not more D's were given from prior semester, etc., or whatever, or future, because I'm limited by that. I mean, that was the prior conversation.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, just so you know, I mean, if you ask my personal opinion, am I a fan of that? Absolutely not. But then again, in our life, we live in orderly society, and sometimes to have orderly society, we got to follow certain parameters that everybody else has to follow. So I'll leave it at that. Just Karan.
Yes. Hello, Professor. So
Yes.
my question is, based on the policy, I know you can't give like above or less than the A's that you're supposed to. I know somebody from your previous class. She was my classmate from your class previously, and she was telling me that as long as we do, because you grade based off of like average, how well the class is doing. So we should worry more about how well the class is doing, and that we're like at least at average with how well the class is doing, rather than worrying about getting like all A's.
Look, let me just tell you this. People who got in my class C's and C pluses,
yeah,
you follow Baruch guideline, what percentage they got, midterm, all that stuff, they were supposed to fail my class. Okay? Let's have a real conversation. So I just don't want to get into specifics with specific people because I want to protect people's privacies. But so if somebody fails my class, I mean, they are far beyond failure in terms of grade. If you look, at number one, number two, Sabrina, how many people got A's in my class last semester? Approximately, do you remember?
I think 100 something.
120, 140. I'm very generous, and I go for the max. And as I said, even if you get a 60 and it would have been C or D, you get an A. All right. But there's so many, I'm limited. Sorry, I like to chew on things, but I'm limited how many A's, B's, and C's I could give. So I max out on everything. But people who got C's and C pluses in my class were supposed to fail my class. It's that simple. Because the overall average after midterm 1, midterm 2 is like 50%. That's failure.
Yes, I
50 bucks,
understand.
that's an F.
Right. So
So somebody who actually fails my class, they did beyond failure, and I understand the frustration and I understand that, I feel it, and and what's the big deal? Give me a D, right? Or whatever, but I can't, there's a limit what I can do. So I'm sorry. And I know there's, this bitterness from prior experience or whatever, but I don't know, you have better suggestion, go change the rules, but I bent backwards. I know, it doesn't matter and we don't care once, we ourselves kind of, suffer or whatever, follow. And it's always, by the way, I'm very sorry, that you guys or whoever, I don't know, but if you didn't do as well as you would like to do.
No, the person did well. She just told me like the advice that she did pretty good. She was just telling me that you go based off of the class average and then the grade is, so if the grade average like is a 60 and you do like, I don't know, 70, then you can get an A. So that's what
Yeah,
it was. So you
100%.
yeah, it's not that I'm worried about like failing.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said it really doesn't matter how difficult exam is, as long as there's a distribution between people. It could be a horribly difficult exam and people are going to complain. That's okay. But people who are complaining walked away with A's because they just did a bit better than everybody else,
Yes, so that was my point too, because I know like she was telling me how usually the average for a test is like sometimes it would be a failing average, but as long as you did good, like better.
No, but let's also make a fair statement, just so you know. The average, that's as a matter of fact, that's not true. The average performance on my test was actually the average performance as far as grade. I don't have average performance failure, just so you understand. But overall for the course, just to understand, people even who did really badly, they walked away with C's even though they were supposed to fail. So then again, that's because of that distribution parameters. But again, is it perfect system? Absolutely not. But I used to 20 years, I've been teaching for 23 or 24 years, by the way. I know I look 30, but I didn't start at 9. So, and I used to do like essays altogether, but then majority of people would do horrible not because they didn't know the material, they couldn't write, and I couldn't write when I was a student either. So I get that. So that's why this whole multiple choice true false, which we all hate also. But we gotta settle down on something. Anyway, if you don't mind, I'll move on. Amanda.
Hi, Professor. You mentioned that the recitation classes that you'll be hosting would be recorded, but would the office hours where you'll be going over the homework, would those be recorded as well?
No, those are one-on-one, private, confidential. People don't want that to be recorded and posted.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. The hands that are up, are these still, just make sure you still have questions if your hand is up. Otherwise, please lower it. Alexei?
Okay, Professor, quick question. You will navigate us, for example, I study right now, I have to prepare exam already. Why? Because it's a crucial, it's a significant percent of grade. For me, the better fail than D, because D is like screwed up my GPA. It's not good for me. However, I'm talking about different, another way. So right now I can copyright the old chapter 3, but I can remember like I cannot remember the whole stuff of that. You will navigate to us. We have to know this one specifically, this one, and this one. This is very important because we cannot remember everything that you said before. It's right. I can copyright the whole chapter. I repeat this, but will you navigate us to make the specific thing that we have to know that will sure in exam? I will sure, I know, like make the panic and I make very well this exam.
Yeah, so my answer to your question is, I will only test you on what I actually lecture. Okay, so if something in the chapter that I didn't touch, we didn't discuss, you are not responsible for it, period. It's that simple. And I'll do more than that, so you don't even have to guess. I will help you. Besides you following my lectures, I'll even post before each exam the sections of each chapter that we covered that you are not responsible for. I don't know what else, how much more to do, but to make it clear. So yes, I will navigate you by covering only what is, in my humble opinion, important and what I will hold you responsible for.
I got it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Professor.
You're very welcome. Jose Carlos. I saw some questions while Sergey guys were talking about crypto stuff. So those of you who are in crypto, we're all in pain nowadays, right? I was actually in Miami last week or weekends on North American Bitcoin conference. So some of you were asking about taxation of cryptocurrency. Guys, be careful. It doesn't matter whether you're in crypto, into strawberries, muffins, or shovels. If you make money, you have to pay taxes. If you don't pay taxes, it's fraud. We'll talk about it. Doesn't matter.
40%.
Yeah, whatever your tax bracket is, we'll talk about that too. So be careful. You know, and the fact that, you know, my son had a conversation with me, youngest son, he's 15 in high school, that his buddy told him about some crypto where the way they designed it, you like in group of 11 and the government cannot figure it out. That's fine. But if government ever figures out, and there are many ways, we'll talk about how government figures out, it's prison term possible. So, and a lot of times for many years, people thought government would never find out about Swiss banks. And people would hide their money in offshore until, you know, you have to understand something very basic. And this is important. And I think it's very valuable to many of you and to all of you to hear. What crypto community, and believe me, I know crypto community very well, and the biggest guys in the world, including Roger Ver for Bitcoin Cash, Brock Pierce, Nick Spanos from Bitcoin Foundation, all great guys. And whatever, I'll leave it at that for now. So all the big, but what the world needs to understand is something very simple. And I'll finish the class on this note. And this is what we're really going to cover next class. But the government cannot survive without money. Do you guys understand this? Presidents have to get paid. Vice presidents have to get paid. Senators have to get paid. Roads have to be paid. Military has to be paid. If government doesn't have money, it cannot function. Where does the government get the money? Taxes. So if somebody comes up with some nonsense that actually hides the money that people make, I don't care what kind of crypto project they do, it's going to be collapse of global government. And it will never, ever happen. It will never, ever happen. So government will find a way to tax you, period. And by first step is going to be, and it's already, they don't have to create anything new for Bitcoin. The law was always that any money you make, you pay taxes, period, unless there is an exception for it. And there was never exception for cryptocurrency. So they don't need to come up with any new law. And if you don't do it, if you hide it, it's criminal offense. Okay? So that's the level of the conversation you need to understand. So please be mindful of this. There's nothing, you don't need any new laws. Government, government comes up with all this stuff just to track it better, to get their deeper hold on this. But outside of it, there is no other way. And there's much more to this. And I actually talk at crypto conferences, and I was, honored, whatever you want to call it, to be a keynote at World Blockchain Summit in Frankfurt, in AI in Singapore. There was a big event in, speaking of Miami, for those of you who's in Miami, in Versace Mansion, a friend of mine did event pre-Bitcoin conference gathering, and there are former economic advisors for current, former presidencies. And the conversation everywhere is the same. So be mindful, be careful. Guys, I don't know. We're talking for too long, I think. I mean, I'm happy to continue answering. I'm all yours. I enjoy doing what I do, but I don't want you to feel like I'm requiring you to stick around. Alexei, you have more questions?
Yeah, quick question about cryptocurrency. Okay, if you keep it like more than 1 year, it will be less taxes. I heard that. And for example, if I get the cryptocurrency by gift from somebody,
okay,
different story.
Stop right there. I'm going to teach you. This is what the course is all about. So we're going to discuss exactly that. Exactly that. For now, you have to be a little bit patient. Alana?
Alina, yeah. So I have a quick question. I just wanted to verify if I want to make an appointment during the office hours, that has to be done through
Don't
your
need to make an
assistant.
appointment. You don't need to make an appointment. You're going to have links, same links for the entire semester. You know office hours.
Okay.
You would come physically, knock on the door outside professor's room or whatever. You're going to be in the waiting room. And as we handle student at a time, you're going to be let into the Zoom to ask your questions.
So you are still yet to provide the link for the Zoom.
We're going to post all the posts as soon as we're done today.
All right, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Professor, quickly, I know we already discussed this, so just to clarify, so the to-do list is basically watch chapter 1 reading, chapter 1, lecture 1, and then read for chapter 3, and then do the homework by next Friday. Right?
Correct. But just in case, I'll also write it down on the post. So don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Have a great day.
You too. Alena, is your hand still up? You have
Oh, by mistake. By mistake. I'm so sorry. Let me just lower it down.
Guys, I think it was fun. I think it's enough for the first type of conversation. I wanted to thank you for signing up in my class. There's nothing that is perfect anywhere in life. There's always pluses and minuses. You know, the ancients and from all the cultures talked about it always, and yin and yang and everything else. We're just simply trying to do the best we can while being fair and reasonable, right? And sometimes we don't see the fuller picture, but that's such as life. So I thank you for signing up for my class. It's going to be a ride. Vast majority of you will enjoy it as always. Some of you will be very unhappy, I'm sure. I'm sorry about that, but there's not more that I could do at this point, except for just giving away whatever people want, but then this whole thing is not going to work. I wish you well. Have a wonderful weekend, and just watch Blackboard. Okay. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good one.
Thank you,
Have a
Professor.
good weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
You too.